Grace and peace be with you. Hi, my name is Mark. I'm the pastor of Sycamore Creek Church in Potterville. Thank you for joining us today for our online worship. We're continuing in our series today called Missing Piece, and we're going to be talking about people and how people can be difficult. And as we get into that topic, I have a chat question for you, and it's, what's one thing that other people frequently do that bothers you? What's one thing? There's a lot of different answers for this one, aren't there? I've been teaching my daughter Kate how to drive. She's 15. She's learning how to drive right now. And one of the things that I just cannot stand is how infrequently people use turn signals. I'm a big fan of the turn signal. I'm a big fan of clear expectations. You've probably heard me talk about that before. And I do not like it when people don't use a turn signal. How about you? What's one thing that bothers you that other people do regularly? We're going to begin our worship service today with singing, and I invite you to sing along with Kevin as this first song.
Christmas time, consider well and bear in mind what our good God for us has done in sending His beloved Son. With Mary holy we should pray to God with love this Christmas day in Bethlehem. Upon that morn there was a blessed Messiah born. Near Bethlehem did shepherds keep their flocks and lambs and feeding sheep, to whom God's angels did appear, which put the shepherds in great fear. Prepare and go, the angel said, to Bethlehem. Be not afraid, for there you'll find this happy morn, a princely babe, sweet Jesus born. Shepherds went the babe to find, and as God's angel had foretold, they did our Savior Christ behold. Within a manger He was laid, and by His side the Virgin Maid, tending the Lord of life, who came to earth to end all strife. Good people, all this Christmas time, consider well and bear in mind what our good God for us has done in sending His beloved Son. With Mary holy we should pray to God with love this Christmas day in Bethlehem. Upon that morn there was a blessed Messiah born.
As we continue Advent today, this season of preparing to celebrate Jesus' birth, We remember that in the days long ago when God's people Israel longed for peace, Isaiah declared, "Comfort, O comfort my people, says your God. Speak tenderly to Jerusalem and cry to her that she has served her term, that her penalty is paid, that she has received from the Lord's hand double for all her sinned." We who gather today online also seek comfort and peace. Yet we are unsatisfied with ideas of peace that tell us to keep quiet and just go with the flow. We long for real peace, true peace, just peace. We wait as people who yearn for peace that bears the fruit of community, equity, and flourishing for everyone. As I light the first and second Advent candle today here in Potterville, I invite you to light a candle at home. If you have an Advent wreath with candles, that's great, you can use that, but most of us don't have that. So light whatever candle or lamp or whatever light you do have. We light these candles as signs of God's shocking hope and just peace. May they be beacons calling us to repent and to live the good news of Jesus Christ as we wait and watch and labor for the day when all people can gather together to worship and glorify God. Amen. I invite you to light your candle at home as I light mine here in Potterville. May we look today to the light of those candles as we remember God's just peace. Will you pray with me? God, today as we continue to talk about peace, we pray that you would fill our lives with your peace. Help us to work for peace in our relationships. Help us to work for peace in the areas where we are hurting, and help us to offer your peace to other people. Help us to pull other people out of circumstances that are hurting them, that are harming them. Help us to look for justice in your world and to work with you for justice in this world. We pray, God, that as part of your peace, as it fills our lives, that we might spread your peace to a world around us that desperately needs peace. We pray this in the name of Jesus and the power of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Now, I invite you to continue praying with me as we pray together the prayer that Jesus taught us, the Lord's Prayer. Please join me in that prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Today we are continuing in our series, Missing Peace. And we're going to be talking about those people. We're going to be talking about relationships and the challenges of relationship. We have Pastor Mikkel with us from our South Lansing campus who's giving the message. But first, here's our host for today.
Hi, my name is Jana Opperly, and I'm your host today. Welcome to Sycamore Creek Church in Potterville. We're so glad you've joined us for worship. I invite you to get connected to Sycamore Creek Church, to take next steps that help you along on your faith journey, and to submit prayer requests. You do all those things by filling out a digital connection card at sycamorecreekchurch.org/connection. Take a moment to do that now. We'll refer to that connection card again later in the worship service. Connect with us for the first time and we'll send you a free book. We hope today's worship will be impactful and meaningful. If today's worship is helpful for you, take a moment to share it with your friends on social media. You can share the worship service and use our hashtag #SCCPotterville. Today's message begins with this.
Hey, I'm curious. How many of you know someone right now who's a little bit difficult to love? You can raise your hand if you want, but don't point at people, okay? Don't turn around and stare at them, but I think this is a pretty universal thing, isn't it? Isn't that interesting? Pretty much every one of us knows someone who's difficult to love. And I think that's true all throughout the year. And then when you add the holiday season into things, everything just gets a little bit intensified. And then there's the pandemic on top of that, which has disrupted our social lives in tangible ways. All of us have seen people, our friends, our acquaintances, our families, our work colleagues, people that you got along with for the most part, in new ways. Social media was either more important than ever or more destructive than it's ever been, depending on your perspective. Because all of a sudden, we got insight into how people are seeing and processing the world. And in some cases, we realized that people were seeing and processing the world in very different ways than we were. Over the past 3 years, I have unfriended, unfollowed, and hidden more people from my social media feeds than ever before in my life. In part because I've moved states twice in the last 3 years, and I needed to let go of whatever self-importance led me to believe that I could be a source of change in their lives through my own social media posts. Have you ever thought that? Like if I unfriend this person on Facebook, they won't see my thoughtful posts and be challenged to change their mind. Clearly, they need someone like me in their lives. The other reason I've unfriended, unfollowed, and hidden people on social media is like the opposite of the first reason. If the first reason is that I'm not interacting with them in real life, the second reason is that I need to be able to interact with them in real life. Like I was able to work with you pretty well before I realized that you have very different perspectives on politics and science. Maybe I should hide you from my timeline so that I can continue to interact with you and not let those differences come between us. I remember there was one person who posted something that they saw as a joke about people crossing our southern border, and my husband and I attempted to gently engage with the post and urge a different perspective, and it didn't go well. I was on the receiving end of a bless your heart from a Southern church lady, which for those who don't speak Southern was basically like cussing me out. I realized that maintaining those virtual relationships wasn't serving me well. I found that it wasn't helpful for me to know everything about everyone. And for many of us, the social media commentary on the pandemic and other political things, it didn't just disrupt our work relationships or our other friendships. It cast new light on our family relationships. All of a sudden, we knew things about our family members that we had never realized before. Didn't we grow up in the same family? Is that really how you see that? And it's become even harder to navigate those family gatherings. You know, the kinds of family gatherings that typically happen during the holiday season. And now we are in the middle of the fourth winter holiday season since COVID started. And it seems like we've just taken that baseline of chaos, added the holiday stress, and then multiplied it by COVID stress, which includes conversations about health, politics, science, and more. It's a lot. A lot. So let's pause for a question. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being totally peaceful, 10 being completely unhinged, how chaotic are your family functions during the holidays and why? Now, if you're sitting at home with your family, maybe this is an internal monologue, right? Maybe you don't have a conversation with your own family as you talk about this, but just reflect on that question. Take a minute. here's the thing. Most of us have someone in our lives who's difficult to love. It doesn't mean that person isn't worthy of love. It just means that we have a hard time getting along. And it's complicated to figure those things out. It's complicated in part because we live in the age of perpetual offense. People, me, right? I can be quick to become angry, quick to judge, quick to be offended. And if you're on a continual search to be offended, you're going to succeed. This isn't like a Where's Waldo search that takes forever. This is hide and seek with a 2-year-old. You know what I mean? It's easy. It's easy to find things to be offended about if that's your goal. And the challenge here is that living offended is a no-win situation. I've never been a person who said, my life is so much more productive because I'm pissed off everywhere I go. I've never heard someone describe their quality of life as being better because they're angry and find fault in everything. We need to recognize that being offended is inevitable, but living offended is a choice. It's a choice, and as followers of Jesus, we want to choose wisely. We're in a message series called Missing Peace, based on a series from Life Church. Many of us are missing peace in our relationships, in everything from our casual acquaintances to our closest relationships. And we're looking to the one who is peace, to Jesus, to be our source of internal peace and also to be a source of peace in our relationships. And the title of today's message is These People, as in, I can't believe these people. I feel dysregulated around these people. It's tough to live with these people. I'm not sure if I can trust these people. And we're seeking God for some true relational peace because we know that Jesus is our peace. So let's look at what Paul in the New Testament has to say about finding peace with people who are sometimes difficult. He says, bless those who persecute you. Don't curse them. Pray that God will bless them. Be happy with those who are happy and weep with those who weep. Live in harmony with each other. Don't be too proud to enjoy the company of ordinary people. And don't think you know it all. Never pay back evil with more evil. Do things in such a way that everyone can see you are honorable. Do all that you can to live in peace with everyone. This is easy to read. It's incredibly difficult to live. And this is what Paul said. He said, if you've got anyone who's a little bit difficult to love right now, bless those who persecute you. Bless and do not curse. He teaches us as followers of Jesus that we're to rejoice with those who rejoice and mourn with those who mourn. He tells us to live in harmony with one another. Don't be proud, but be willing to associate with people of any position. He tells us don't be conceited. Don't repay anyone evil for evil. Be careful to do what's right in the eyes of everyone. And verse 18 here is going to be our key verse. And we're going to come back to this kind of over and over in the message. Paul tells us, if it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. If it's possible, as far as it's up to you, your wills, your ways, your ability, live at peace with everyone. So let's start at the beginning. Paul says this, he says, bless those who persecute you. We could say, bless those who are mean to you. Bless those who are short with you. Bless those who disagree with you. He says, bless those who persecute you. What does it mean to bless? Well, the word bless here comes from the Greek word eulogio, which is a little bit like eulogy. And you know what that would be. In the EU, it means good. Logos means word. So what this word eulogio means is a good word. Very literally, it means to speak well of or to wish the best blessings for someone. I want you to think about this. Speak well of and wish the best blessings for someone who's rude to you. Speak well of and wish the best blessings for someone who betrays you. Bless those who persecute you. Now, I don't know about you, but it's really easy for me to wish the best for people that I like. It's easy to bless someone who's a blessing, to be nice to someone who's nice, to be generous with someone who's generous. It's really hard, though. It's incredibly difficult when someone offends you, when someone's harsh to you, when someone belittles you, when someone leaves you out, hurts your feelings or betrays you. In fact, there's a part of me when someone I don't like, someone I don't trust, someone I don't respect gets something bad in their life, there's like a part deep down inside of me that enjoys that. There's a part of me that's just kind of like, I don't know. Like, have you ever been driving down Mount Hope Avenue and like a beat up Corolla comes flying down the center lane to pass me, which is really the lane for safely turning left. And then I just hope that I get to see them pulled over, getting a ticket. I want really badly for them to get in trouble for being unsafe. But Paul gives us a very specific and very direct command. And in the Greek language, his command is what's called a present imperative. A present imperative means to do what you're told to do and keep on doing it. It's not a one-time action. Very literally, when Paul says, bless those who persecute you, you could translate it, be a continual blessing to those who are a continual problem. Wow. Be a continual blessing. I don't know about you, but I could be a blessing to someone who's a problem for a little while. I can do it for a minute or two. But after a while, if they're continually a burden to me or offensive to me, at some point, I snap and I really want to retaliate. And yet Paul is giving us this imperative. He's giving us instructions inspired by the Holy Spirit that we as followers of Jesus are to be a continual blessing to those who are a continual problem. How do we do that? It's completely impossible in my nature to ever do that. The only way we can do that, what Paul's talking about in Romans 12, is to understand the context. So I want to go back to the very first verse in this chapter. This gives us the context that sets up the how we love people who are so difficult to love. Paul starts this way, and he says something really rich. He says, because of all that God has done for you. He says, and so, dear brothers and sisters, I plead with you to give your bodies to God because of all that he has done for you. Let them be a living and holy sacrifice, the kind he will find acceptable. This is truly the way to worship him. Another translation puts this in view of God's mercy. How merciful has God been to you? How much has God forgiven you from things that you didn't deserve? How much has God blessed you beyond what you've earned? In view of all that, in view of God's goodness for you, in view of God's grace for you, Paul tells us, give your bodies to God. Now, some of you might be sitting here thinking, I don't know that God. I don't know a God who's merciful and forgiving. And oh, how I hope you're able to meet this God, to see the God we serve from this light, to see this God who's full of love and compassion for you, exactly who and how you are right now. And in view of that God, who that God is and what God's done, offer your bodies. Let them be a living and holy sacrifice. This is truly the way to worship God. I love this. If you want to worship God, worshiping God isn't just like the songs that we sing, it's the life we live. Loving people as we've been loved is an act of worship. How do we do this? Paul says we're a living sacrifice. Now that seems like a contradiction in terms, right? Like a living sacrifice. Generally, when I think of sacrifices, I think of dead sacrifices, dead animals. What's a living sacrifice? I don't think animals were lining up to volunteer to be sacrificed, right? They don't do that. When you think about a living sacrifice, I think of the Lamb of God, which is a phrase that we use to refer to Jesus, who, when he was alive, said, I'm willing to die. He said, no one takes my life, I lay it down. So how do we love others? We lay down our own natural responses. We lay down our own selfish desires. We die to ourselves so that Christ can love others through us. Jesus, how he lived and how he died, he offers us an example to imagine what it's like to fully love others. And it's the Jesus inside of me, the Christ inside of me. That's how we do it. In view of what God has done, I let Christ love through me. And Paul says this in verse 16, live in harmony with each other. Don't be too proud to enjoy the company of ordinary people, and don't think you know it all. Live in harmony with one another. It's a great verse when you're out Christmas shopping, right? Live in harmony with one another. And then he says, don't think you know it all. Too many of us are determined to be right. myself included. We look for information that confirms what we already believe, right? I just know I'm right and everybody else is wrong, and they're wrong, and maybe they're not very smart. But Jesus didn't tell us to be right. Jesus told us to be loving. He told us to love. He didn't say the world would know who we are by how correct we are. He said they know us by how loving we are. And we're going to discuss for a minute really practically what this looks like in the upcoming election year. But first, let's pause for a chat question. I think a lot of us don't want to be know-it-alls, but we also don't know how to respond when people say off-the-wall stuff and just expect us to agree. It's tough to know how to draw meaningful boundaries and still live at peace with people. So here's our question. How do you process that? How do you think about living at peace with people without just getting taken advantage of or like just agreeing with people? Take a minute and talk about it. So we're coming up on an election year, and I just want to stop and put this in context, right? Like, if you're politically conservative, it might be easy to think or say, I can't believe that anybody liberal could ever love Jesus. And on the other hand, and this might be more true here in our community, if you're politically liberal, it might be easy to say or think, Republicans are just a bunch of hate mongers. There's no way that they could really love Jesus. And if you live in either one of those extremes, I just want to invite you to take Paul's word and Jesus' example seriously. If it's difficult for you to imagine that someone else who was born in another part of the world or another part of our country, around a totally different way of thinking, with different parents, maybe a different skin color, maybe different friends, different opportunities, different threats. If it's difficult for you to imagine how someone who is so different from you could love Jesus from a different political perspective at a different point in their walk than you do, then it's time for you to expand your perspective. When people talk, don't listen, just respond. Don't listen to correct, listen to understand and listen to love. We start with grace and then we lead toward truth. And if you have trouble understanding another perspective, your impact in the world is going to be limited. We're followers of Christ. We have to be bigger than that. You're going to face conflict in political conversations. You're going to face misunderstandings in political conversations. You're going to face differences of perspective because you don't understand in political conversations. And you're going to experience conflict, misunderstandings, and differences in perspectives in more than just political conversations. You're going to experience these things in conversations about parenting and work and feelings and expectations. And because our brains are biologically wired to protect or defend, you tell a story to fill in the blanks. Your brain fills in the gaps to understand or explain what you don't understand. So if someone is unkind to you or short with you or has a different opinion about something, if they behave in a way that you don't expect, your brain makes a story to fill things in. In fact, I find that this can be a really helpful framework for starting difficult conversations. These things happened. The story I'm telling myself about these things is this. Is that accurate? Can you help me understand if I'm missing something here? I want to understand. Because if we're not paying attention, it can be really easy for the story that we tell ourselves about a situation to skew negatively. We tell ourselves a hypercritical story about other people and an incredibly generous story about ourselves. Like, they canceled on me because they secretly hate me. She did that because she likes to make me angry. He left that undone because he doesn't care if I have more work to do. Accusation, accusation, accusation. We can root our stories in accusation, but I think God wants our stories to be rooted in love. Because what do accusations do? They erode relationships. They split friendships. They divide churches. And let me be really clear. I'm not talking about just not speaking up about something that happened. I'm saying that we do our best to suspend judgment until we have all the information. Like, you didn't act on my suggestion, and the story I'm telling myself is that you don't value my perspective. Can you help me to understand what I'm missing? Like, you're still asking questions, addressing what's happening, but you're leaving the end open. Like, maybe I'm missing something here. And remember, they won't know that we follow Jesus because we're right all the time. The world is going to know us by the way that we love. And that's why, remember, you're going to be offended. It's inevitable, but living offended is a choice. I recently got the chance to pop over to Chicago for a night and see Scott Erickson's Say Yes show. It's a liturgy of not giving up on yourself, of finding hope that things can change, that things can get better, that you can grow. And he shared some research that he had come across. Maybe you've heard this too. A person who worked in palliative care, which is like care for those who are dying, recognized 5 common regrets that dying people express. And one of them is this: I wish that I had let myself be happier. At the end of our lives, we often come to realize that happiness is a choice. Let's choose today that life is too short to live offended. I would much rather choose happiness than choose to live offended. Wouldn't you? Imagine if Jesus was easily offended, like if he was petty. He couldn't do his mission. Imagine if he just lived this way, like, Matthew, you weren't paying attention to my sermon. I said, blessed are the meek, for they will inherit. Like, you didn't even write that down. Or, God healed 10 lepers and only 1 came back. Nobody cares about me. Nobody appreciates me. Or maybe he would say, Thomas, you didn't even brag on my miracle. I raised the dead. I didn't just open blind eyes. I raised the freaking dead. Thomas, you're always doubting. I just can't count on you. Being offended is inevitable. Living offended is a choice. There's a verse in Proverbs 19 that's really powerful here. It says, sensible people control their temper. They earn respect by overlooking wrongs. Sensible people control their temper. Another way to put that is that wise people are patient. They take the time they need to respond to things instead of reacting immediately. And when they do that, they earn respect by overlooking wrongs, by overlooking offenses. What does that mean to overlook an offense? It's not the same as pretending it didn't happen. It's a conscious decision to let it go, like real-time forgiveness. It's saying, I know that happened, and I'm going to assume good intentions and overlook it. I'm not going to focus on it. So let's pause for one more chat question. What is one place in your life where you get offended, where you could choose to overlook an offense? Take a minute and talk about that. Like, we've got more important things to do than be offended. Listen, this applies to the jerk at the mall, but it also applies, maybe more importantly, to the people you love the most. Apply it to the people in your home, to your spouse. And not that I'm saying Nathan is hard to love, right? Far from it. In fact, many times people will comment to me how great Nathan is, and they do that because he's pretty great. We have a pretty solid marriage, and you could have the best marriage in the universe and still you would have fights. You would have different perspectives that are confusing. You're going to hurt each other. In the early years of our marriage, Nathan and I believed that the best way to communicate, like the way to have the best, most healthy marriage we could, was to talk about everything. And so we hashed and rehashed how we talk to each other. Like, don't say it that way because what you're really saying when you say that is this. And so you need to say it this way instead. And it just went on and on and on, parsing out each other's specific words, trying to find exactly the right way to speak to each other. And eventually we learned that it was really less about the words than it was about the trust we had for each other. We learned that there would be times that we snapped at each other and then came back and apologized. There would be times that an emotion would flare up and we'd let it sit and then soon realize it wasn't that big of a deal. Or that emotion wasn't actually about what I did or what he did, but about some other situation entirely. And it was just leaking out on our relationship. And so now we pick and choose what to make a big deal out of. It's not easy to know which things to make a big deal out of, to be honest. But we're learning to trust that love doesn't seek to win the argument. Love seeks to protect the relationship. One helpful tool for protecting a relationship is the role renegotiation model. This is a tool that you can apply to any relationship that you want to keep. It helps you to address the small pinches, the small unmet expectations, so that they don't add up to a big unmet expectation, to a crunch. It gives you a framework to address all of it, to have honest conversations about that expectation, whether it's reasonable and or necessary. It's a tool that can open up conversations about relationships without assigning intent to those unmet expectation. It lets you say, this surprised me, and it was a little deal or it was a big deal. Can we talk about it and get on the same page? So remember what Paul said in verse 18. Do all that you can to live in peace with everyone. Sometimes you just can't control how another person will respond. So as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. As far as it's in your control, be at peace with people, even the people who are rude to you, even the people who are talking about you behind your back, even the people who lash out at you and say nasty things. Do all that you can to live at peace with them. This is really tough, and you can't really do it on your own. You need help from the one who is peace and who brings relational peace. It takes two to reconcile, but it only takes one person to forgive. It takes two to reconcile, but it only takes one person to be loving. And so as far as it depends on you, as far as it depends on me, we're going to live at peace with everyone. I promise you that people are going to let you down. I'll let you down. I may have even offended you today. Being offended is inevitable, but living offended is a choice. And just remember that Jesus, the one who is our peace, he didn't tell us to always be right. He told us to always be loving. So as far as it depends on us, on me, on you, what are we going to do as followers of Jesus? We're going to do our best by the power of the Spirit of God in our hearts to live at peace with everyone. And it's my prayer today that for someone, this could be just what you need for healing in a relationship that's broken. Amen.
Thank you, Mikkel. I have a few announcements for us, and the first announcement is that we would love to help you get connected with Sycamore Creek. We'd love to help you take next steps where you can grow in your faith. You can do all that and more when you fill out a digital connection card. I want to invite you to take a moment to go to sycamorecreekchurch.org/connection and fill out a digital connection card. If you do that for the first time, we have a gift that we'll send you. It's a book by Max Lucado called You'll Get Through This, and we'll send that right from Amazon directly to your house. We have so many things that are coming up for Christmas. I'm super excited about all these different things. Our Christmas stuff really kicks off on the 16th and 17th with our Christmas musical, Come In From the Cold. I'm excited about this musical and that we're offering something like this in Potterville. You can either come to that on the evening of the 16th at 7 p.m., that's a Saturday, or on the 17th in the afternoon at 5 o'clock p.m. There'll be 2 showings of it. Either one the title is called Come In From the Cold, and we'll be collecting gently used or new winter clothing items like coats or hats or gloves or mittens, things like that. You're welcome to bring those or just come and enjoy the show either day. On the 17th, next Sunday, we kick off all kinds of amazing things that are happening as well, including our kids' Christmas program in the morning at 10:30 and our in-person worship, our caroling around Potterville at 7 p.m. in the evening. We have stuff happening on the 23rd where we're taking our worship out in the community and we're worshiping at Sanctuary Spirits. That's a great one to invite someone to who maybe is not really a church person or wouldn't be comfortable in our worship space in the church sanctuary, but they will go to a bar and hang out. And if you invite someone and they've never been to Sycamore Creek, we offer a free sandwich and chips for anyone who's a first-time guest. Lots of different options. You'll see those listed on the screen, and those are for you to attend and to enjoy and to encounter Christ this Christmas season, but they're also for you to invite someone to join you for that. Speaking of Christmas and in the Christmas season, we are in the season where we're talking about our Christmas offering. Each year, we offer an annual Christmas offering where money from that offering goes to 3 things. It goes to our care ministries. That's taking care of people. It helps pay for our care pastor, Tom Fox, for his salary. It helps pay for all the different ways we support our community and care for them. Sometimes it's rent assistance, sometimes it's utility assistance, sometimes it's helping support people to get the counseling that they need. All sorts of good care ministry stuff that money goes toward. We also do local mission from our Christmas offering, and that's things like our back to school bash. It's things like our gas giveaway. It's things like our free car washes. It's like our pumpkin event in the fall. All these ways that we reach out to our community and we help support our community happens through the Christmas offering. And finally, we do global missions through the Christmas offering. Now, each year, as part of our Christmas offering, we do a Christmas offering challenge, and that's for you to give away as much as you spend on Christmas. It's a tangible reminder to us in how we use our resources that Christmas is about Jesus' birthday and it's about helping others, not just about what we receive and the gifts we might give or receive as part of Christmas. I want to thank you for your giving to support Sycamore Creek. I want to thank you for your giving to the Christmas offering. Every year I get excited about all the things that we will do the next year with that money from the Christmas offering. Speaking of our Christmas offering, we have someone from Sycamore Creek who is going to share with you a little bit about their experience of the Christmas offering. Here's a video of them.
My name is Joe Sheetenhelm. This is Serena, my wife.
We attend the Potterville campus. We've been here before. It was Potterville, Sycamore Creek. It was Potterville United Methodist Church. So we've been here for about...
However old Emma is. She's 11.
11 years. The first thing I thought of when I thought of this challenge was it was pretty amazing how much power there is in that large number that helps the community. And it's very important for us to help the community in whatever way. And it was very cool to have this church that supports that ministry.
It's important for me because growing up, we had one Christmas where my parents were both laid off and they were having a hard time making ends meet, and my mom kept saying emphatically over and over that, we're not going to have a lot to get for Christmas this year, kids. So you might pick out 1 or 2 small things, and that's probably all you're going to have. But we were able to pick small things, and it seemed like that was a really great Christmas. And my mom, she would tell the story over and over again how that was probably our best Christmas, even though we didn't have any large things, and we were able to enjoy each other more. And so I feel like the money you could use to other things might go to better things. And, you just enjoy the spirit of Christmas and enjoy those things more.
I would encourage other people to give because this is such a great fund that goes to so many different ways in the community. It helps, our Easter egg hunts, and it helps our benevolence fund for those friends who need help with their heating bill. And unfortunately, in our world today, it's just the needs are honestly outweigh good in many times, and it's nice to be the good force in the world as opposed to the negative force in the world.
It's so important to help out your neighbors, your friends, your community. And I don't know if we do it ourselves that great, but I know the church does it for us. And that money is going to help people out in so many better ways than anything that I could come up with myself.
And also hit those needs that we may not realize are really there. And it's a way of us supporting the community.
Thank you again for your giving to Sycamore Creek and for engaging with the Christmas offering. If you're giving to the Christmas offering, here is Kevin with our final worship song.
In the bleak midwinter, frosty wind made moan. Earth stood hard as iron, water like a stone. Snow had fallen, snow on snow, snow on snow. In the bleak midwinter, long ago, our God heaven cannot hold him, nor earth sustain. Heaven and earth shall flee away when he comes to reign. In the bleak midwinter, a stable place suffice. Oh Lord God Almighty, Jesus Christ. Angels and archangels may have gathered here, cherubim and seraphim thronged the air, but his mother only in her maiden bliss worship the beloved with a kiss. In the bleak midwinter, frosty wind made moan. Earth stood hard as iron, water like stone. Snow had fallen, snow on snow, snow on snow. In the bleak midwinter, long ago.
Thank you for joining us today for worship. I hope that you experience some peace today and have some hope for peace in your relationships with others, the peace that comes from God. Hope to see you again soon.